The alarm on my ship screamed before I even opened my eyes, and my hands were shaking as I reached for the control panel, because the reading on my screen made no sense. A small vessel, barely larger than a cargo pod, was sitting motionless outside the trade station, and every scanner I owned refused to tell me what was inside it. My name is Daniel Foss, and I have spent 11 years as a translator for the Vrest Compact, standing between human traders and 1,000 nervous alien species who still do not fully trust our species. I thought I had seen every strange thing humans could bring across the stars. I was wrong. The station commander, a tall insect like being named Trenel, grabbed my arm the moment I stepped off my shuttle. His antennae were trembling, which for his kind means real fear, not simple caution. Daniel, you must speak to them, now, before this becomes a disaster. Who is them? The human traders. They brought something onto my station, something small, something we cannot understand. I followed him through the corridor, past dozens of alien workers pressed against the walls, giving one docking bay a very wide space. When we reached the bay, I saw the source of all this panic, and I almost laughed out loud. Sitting calmly on a supply crate, licking one paw, was an ordinary orange cat. Trainal, that is a cat. It is a pet. Humans keep them in their homes. We know what it is called, Trainal said, his voice tight. We have read your reports. We did not believe them until now. I looked closer and understood the problem. A young trader named Oliver stood a few steps away, arms crossed, clearly annoyed that his morning had been interrupted over his pet. Beside him, a Vresk soldier held a scanning device pointed directly at the cat, and the numbers on the screen were causing half the station staff to back away slowly. Its reflexes, the soldier said, staring at his readings. Its reflexes are faster than a trained pilot. Its bones bend in ways that should break them. It has claws it keeps hidden until the exact moment it needs them. Oliver rolled his eyes. His name is Ginger. He is 3 years old. He likes fish and sleeping in warm laundry. You allow this creature near your children, Trenel said, and it was not a question. Sure, he sleeps on my daughter's bed every night. The silence that followed felt heavier than the ship's own gravity plating. I realized, standing there, that this was not going to be a simple translation job. This was going to be the day an entire trade station learned something about humanity that no diplomatic meeting had ever managed to explain. Word spread fast. Within an hour, 3 other alien delegations had gathered near the docking bay, each one keeping a careful distance, each one watching Ginger with the same mixture of horror and fascination. A soft-spoken diplomat named Eilith Vane, from a species that communicates through gentle color changes on her skin, approached me quietly. Daniel, I must ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Of course. Is this animal a weapon your people have hidden inside your homes? I shook my head. No, he is just a cat. Cats are pets. They have been living with humans for thousands of years. Thousands of years, she repeated, her skin shifting to a pale, uneasy blue. And you allow this because you find it pleasant? We find it comforting. Cats are calm most of the time. They only move fast when they need to. When they need to, she said slowly, meaning when they choose to hunt. I did not have a good answer for that, because she was right, and the moment she said it out loud, I understood why an entire station full of experienced diplomats and soldiers were standing frozen around a sleeping house pet. The situation grew stranger as the day continued. A young engineer named Grace, who had been repairing systems near the docking bay, walked over without any hesitation and picked Ginger up in her arms. The reaction from the alien crowd was instant. Several of them stepped back, and one soldier actually raised his weapon slightly, before lowering it again in embarrassment. He likes being held like this, Grace said, completely unaware of the tension around her. Just support his back legs, or he gets grumpy. Trenel's antennae twitched hard. You are holding it, willingly, close to your own throat. Grace laughed, and Ginger purred loudly enough that the sound carried across the quiet bay. To me, it was the most normal thing in the world. To everyone else watching, it looked like a person calmly holding something that could, in theory, end a fight in less than a second, and treating it like a soft toy. "He is purring," Elith said, her skin flickering through several colors at once. "Is that a warning sound?" "No," I said. "That means he is happy." "Happy," she repeated again, as if the word itself needed translating twice. By the afternoon, station leadership requested a formal meeting, and I found myself standing in a room with representatives from 4 different species, all of them asking questions about Ginger, as though he were a newly discovered threat rather than a pet. I tried to explain, as calmly as I could, that humans kept many small predators as companions, not because we lacked caution, but because we trusted our own judgment about which animals could live peacefully among us. A blunt, older commander named Terex finally said what everyone else seemed to be thinking. "Your species keeps a fast, hidden weapon inside your own homes, beside your own children, and you call this comfort." "It is comfort," I said. "For us. For you," Terex repeated. "And what happens if this comfort ever turns toward a stranger?" I thought about that question longer than I expected to. The truth is, cats do occasionally scratch or bite, but it never occurred to most humans to think of this as something worth fearing, because we grew up surrounded by it. It became normal. It became something close to love. Later that evening, station staff allowed Oliver to move Ginger to a quieter room, away from the crowds, and I went along to help settle things down. Ginger jumped onto a low shelf, stretched, and curled up as if nothing unusual had happened all day. Oliver sat beside him and scratched behind his ears. "They are acting like he is some kind of monster," Oliver said, shaking his head. "In a way, to them, he is," I said. "They have creatures on their worlds too, dangerous ones, but they lock them away or avoid them completely. They do not bring them into their bedrooms." Oliver looked down at Ginger, who was now fast asleep, one paw twitching gently. "He is just a cat." "I know, but think about it from their side. They have spent years studying how dangerous humans can be in battle, in negotiation, in strategy. And now they are realizing that even outside all of that, we live comfortably beside something built entirely for hunting, and we are not afraid of it at all. If anything, we love it more because of what it can do." Oliver was quiet for a moment, and then he smiled slightly. "That is kind of funny when you put it that way." "It is funny to us," I said. "To them, it might be the most unsettling thing they have learned about humanity since we first arrived among the stars." That night, I filed my report for the compact archive, and I chose my words carefully, because I knew other officers would read it long after I was gone. I wrote about the frozen station staff, about Illith's shifting colors, about Terex's blunt question that no one could fully answer. I wrote about Grace holding Ginger without a hint of worry, and about the soft, steady sound of purring that had somehow silenced an entire room of trained professionals. I ended my report with a single line that I believe captures everything this day taught me. Humans do not fear the things we choose to love, even when those things could, under different circumstances, be considered dangerous. We do not measure comfort by threat level. We measure it by trust, by habit, and by the quiet, steady presence of something small, curled up beside us at the end of a long day. The next morning, the station returned to its usual routine. Traders came and went, ships docked and left, and the panic from the day before slowly faded into something closer to curiosity. Several alien crew members even asked Oliver if they could see Ginger again, keeping a respectful distance at first, then slowly moving closer as he stayed calm and uninterested in them. By midday, Illith approached me one last time before my shuttle departed. Her skin had settled into a soft green, which I had learned meant calm acceptance. "I understand it now," she said. "Not fully, but enough. You do not fear it because you raised it beside you. You gave it trust, and it gave you comfort in return. That is exactly it, I said. It is a strange kind of bravery, she said, to live so closely beside something built for danger, and call it family. I smiled, because she had said, in one simple sentence, something it had taken me years of translation work to fully understand myself. As my shuttle pulled away from the station, I looked back at the small orange shape sitting calmly in the observation window, watching the stars with lazy, half-closed eyes, completely unaware of the quiet fear and wonder it had left behind on an entire station full of seasoned space travelers. It was, in the end, just a cat. But sometimes, the simplest things carry the loudest lessons, and this one traveled far beyond that single docking bay, into reports, into meetings, and into the growing understanding that humanity's calm affection for small, capable creatures was, and would always be, one of the most unexpected mysteries in the galaxy.